Hey guys, welcome to the podcast and welcome to Dumi for being onto the podcast. And today he's going to be speaking a little bit about his journey and what he went through. I've known Dumi for quite a while. Been my captain for rugby for many years. And such a honor to have you here. And can you please tell the podcast a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Thanks so much for having me on the podcast. I think it's such an honor and a privilege. And yeah, I've known you for a while, and I know you're trying to keep the image of me good, but there is a story. I think we were in grade 6 or
Yeah.
7.
I wasn't going to mention it, but the assist of breaking my collarbone is crazy.
Yeah, it's what happens in rugby, guys. It's part of the game.
But I mean, like that for me, that was the dawn of a friendship. Like,
Yeah,
I've got to
exactly.
break your collarbone. Or
You still have to retaliate for that. No, but
exactly.
it's awesome to be here and awesome to share as well.
But I think at the end of the day, you may be a better rugby player because I know exactly what I was going into. It was the first
Exactly.
time playing it.
Exactly.
Um, so today we're going to be speaking a little bit about what you went through. Do you want to give the podcast a little bit of a detail of your childhood?
Yes. Yeah, of course. So, for those of you that don't know, my name is Dumi. So, myself and my family, we are from Zimbabwe. So, I was born in 2001 in Zimbabwe, and my family was there as well. So, my brother's 2 years older than me, so he was born 1999. And yeah, for the first little bit of our lives, we were in Zim, and we'll speak a little bit about the journey, but obviously ended up here. But yeah, my early life, we stayed in Zim, Harare, and we were in the village as well, a little bit with grandparents and stuff. And I look back with such great memories on that time. And yeah, it was amazing. And then what happened is my parents they were in university at the time, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, mom and dad. But
In the comments.
while we were in Zim, we must have been around three or four-ish. We moved to stay with our cousins, to two cousins, so around about the same age as us as well, boys. So four boys in the house. WWE,
Yeah.
WWE moves. Don't try this at home. And we would like
And then
literally
always someone got hurt.
exactly. Always someone got hurt, and if someone starts crying, then it's
You ran.
you're right. Exactly. And it was such an amazing time, and it was amazing. And then what ended up happening is that during that time, if people know the history of Zim, political unrest was like a real thing. And my dad was actually at the time involved a little bit politically with, especially with the MDC, which is sort of against the ZANU PF party, the Robert Mugabe's party at the time. So what happened is myself, my mom, and my brother ended up moving to the UK because of that unrest. And yeah, we stayed there for a while as well. So I remember that I was 5 because when we got there, it was my birthday and I had a SpongeBob cake with a number 5 on it. So that's how I remember that I was 5. And yeah, it was really different moving to the UK. I think first we were in Bradford and we moved to Sheffield after that, and we spent most of our time in Sheffield. And yeah, that was a completely different experience.
Yeah, like a bit of a multicultural change right
Yeah,
there. Like,
literally. And I remember I'm pretty sure the only English we knew was like from watching WWE. Like
yeah,
that's like
that
so
was my
going
trip.
going there and experiencing new things. So myself, my mom, and my brother were then in the UK I stayed there for 5 years. And my brother was there for 3 before moving to South Africa, where my dad was working between South Africa and Zim at the time. So yeah, being in the UK, there's a massive culture shock and whatever. But as a kid, like I said, I always tell people, and they're like, "Oh, what was it like?" But it's like as a kid, you
Yeah, everything's kind of like
everything is
protected from you.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So you go and you have fun, you make friends and stuff, and that was amazing as well. So there was a couple of years where it was just my mom and myself in the UK, and then my dad and my brother were in.
Was that a bit tough for you that your brother left?
Like I say, it's like when you're a kid, everything is a little bit softened. Like,
Yeah,
like you're a kid, you cry about something for a day, you're sad about
yeah,
something, you dropped your ice cream, and then the next
yeah,
day you forget it happened. And so, like, when we were kids, we didn't really like realize it. Like, I remember, like, some of my best memories was like obviously we would call back and forth, and we were in the UK, and Sky, so anyone who's in the UK knows, like to get like the package to watch TV is like
Mm.
mad expensive. So we couldn't watch WWE in England, but my brother who had DSTV here could watch WWE, and he would call us, John Cena did this, and Undertaker did that, and like
Yeah.
just that sort of relationship. So yeah, it was like it was definitely different, but I would say like when you are a child, you don't really take everything in that's happening, but
Yeah.
it definitely goes on to affect you in
And
later life
later
when you
when
start to,
to think
exactly,
about it,
when you
and
think about it and deep it, and see what starts to happen. So after that, so my brother moved to the UK, and then 2 years later I'm to the South Africa, and then 2 years later I moved to South Africa to join him,
mm,
and that's where I started going to Parklands as well. So that was as well a little bit different because my mom was in the UK, my brother and I were in South Africa, and then at the time my dad was mostly based in Zim, and we were staying with my dad's brother,
oh,
my
okay.
uncle.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
it's like, then who's looking after
Yeah.
you? Yeah.
So yeah, like a lot of the time while we were growing up in primary school, we were staying with my dad's brother, Uncle
Mm.
Justin, Uncle Jay. Some of our friends know him. He was amazing. Like with us, he raised us, and yeah, he did such a great job. So that was a little bit different as well. And then he moved to Joburg, and then we had some other family stay with us for a little bit,
Mm.
and then we had some other family stay with us for a little bit as well. So it's always been a little bit of a shifting and changing. And my dad has just recently started working in Joburg, so it's a little bit closer to Cape Town. So we
Mm.
see him a little bit more often. But yeah, it's been a while, I think, since my mom has come down, because with COVID and everything, she wanted to come that year, and it like
Yeah.
didn't materialize. And then
COVID.
flights expensive.
I was looking the other day, and I think like my parents went without me.
Mm.
Jokes. I had to say that. But it was like 15,000 rand, like just for like a basic flight, but like the
Absolutely
cheapest,
wild.
and like at the at the real bad times, like we're
Mm.
talking about, you fly at like 11 o'clock at night, and
Yeah.
then your hangover is like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then
Mm.
you get at your holiday destination looking like a zombie.
Yeah. Yeah. That jet lag gets you. No, it's wild.
But yeah, it's
No, it was crazy. But like I say, it's you only realize a lot of these things later on in life. And what I
mm,
realized about my sort of journey is like when people would ask me like, "Oh, what's it like living without your parents?" It was different because I met a lot of people whose parents were maybe divorced,
yeah.
or maybe they'd lost a parent or something like that,
Mm.
and that was a sort of different situation. But my situation was. And our situation was different because it's like, oh, our parents both loved us. They were both
Yeah.
like, they were
They
both
just wanted the best
together.
for you.
They both
Like,
love each
yeah.
other, and we were like a really like strong and happy family. But just the fact of being so separate and so far away, I realized that was such a unique experience.
Mm.
Like when people were like, "Oh, my parents are divorced," like I couldn't, you know, I couldn't I didn't experience the same thing because my parents loved each other, loved us, and it was really a good environment. But the distance
Yeah.
plays such a massive role, you find later in life,
For
especially
sure.
when the moment where I started to feel it for real. Because like I said, when you're a kid, you call your parents, and all of that stuff. They visit Christmas and
Mm.
whatever. The moment I started to realize it was when we would play rugby or play sports, and people's like, everyone's got a parent watching them, or like cheering them on, and you like, you don't let it get to you like that, but you're
Yeah.
like, oh, flip, like, I wish my dad could watch me
Yeah.
playing, or my
And
mom could watch
especially
me
like
playing.
if you scored like a try,
Yeah,
or
exactly. It's like they love to hear the stories about like what happens, and but they didn't get that experience of like
mm,
being able to watch you and having that support. And I remember going on a Western Province cricket tour, and that was hard because it was like, first of all, I was at Parklands, shout out Parklands in
mhm,
the but like everyone else was like Paul, Rondebosch, big schools, and they all
mhm.
knew each other and played with each other, and all their parents like came on the tour as well. So it's like everyone knows each other, it's got their thing, and they got their parents like, looking out for them, and then you just go and you're like, oh, flip, you know, and
I'm just here.
exactly. So yeah, it was like a little bit of different challenges, I would
Mm.
say.
So would you say, like, what would have been like the biggest challenge for you during that time? Would it be more like that you couldn't look for guidance instantly, like, or
I would say like I had really good, like I say, figures in my life for that sort of guidance. And I would say the most difficult thing really is that just not having that, because you can respect, relatives and mentors in your life, but having your parents there is such a different thing, that level of guidance that they can give you and love as well that they can give you is so different. People can love you, friends can love you, but when your parents love you, that's like a completely different thing, and you have that guidance right there. And so I found that a little bit of a challenge. And like I said, when we started to get into high school, then it was a bit more independence in terms of like you're a bit older now, and we started to do a lot of things for ourselves, and you quickly realize that like, okay, you got to step up and be responsible, and like you don't have your dad there to tell you, okay, this is what you need to do in this
Yeah,
situation. This
well,
is what you need to do in that situation. Like they would send us money for groceries, and then it's like you realize that hey, you've got freedom. But then if you like eat ice cream for breakfast and
yeah,
dinner and buy pizza and whatever, then you don't have anything for the rest of the month. And so it's like learning those
so
lessons.
yeah,
It's learning those lessons, and I would say that was the difficult part as well, is doing like all of the things that people, you'd usually have your parents around for. You've just got to learn how to do it. And I remember like sometimes being frustrated. My dad is like, go to the home affairs and like do this. I'm like, dude, I don't know what I don't know what I'm doing, bro. Like someone is supposed to be doing this stuff for me. But like, that in itself helped us, my brother and myself, to mature really, really early. So we had a lot of independence, but a lot of we had to be a very mature and be able to handle things and be able to make sure things are okay. And I would say for me, now thinking about it, the biggest, I would say, challenge was always, your parents call, and find out like, oh, how are you? How are you doing? And you know that they're trying their best, and there's a lot
yeah,
of things that they can't fix from over there. So you don't want to like be like, oh, I'm not doing well, or like we don't have this or we don't have that, because they're doing their best, and they like, and making them worry is not going to change anything. So you
yeah,
sort of internalize the things that are really challenging you, because you don't want them to worry like, oh, he doesn't have this, he doesn't have that, or this is not going well, he's struggling in this area. So you sort of like have to pretend to be okay in a lot of senses. And yeah, like you learn to navigate through things, but I think that is like a definite challenge. It's like you start to internalize a lot of things, like, no, I'm okay, even though like
yeah.
things are like are
I'm
tough.
fine.
Yeah. Exactly.
I want to call it. So, what's the age gap between you and your brother again?
2 years,
2 years.
but we looked like very alike, so people thought we were twins.
Well, I mean, I saw CJ's birthday. By the way, shout out to CJ for happy birthday to you. But did it ever occur to you that you guys like leaned on each other and whatnot like a lot, or do you think like over the years that you've formed more of a relationship with each other?
Definitely. I would say like the closest person to me is my brother, because we were so close in age. A lot of the things we experienced together. I remember when we flew from Zim to UK.
Yeah.
We flew together, and like we were like kids, and and it was like experiencing that together. And so like when I look throughout my life, most of the time the person that's always been there is my brother. So we've got this relationship where we are super close, and in amongst all the change, you move locations, you have different people looking after you, so many things change in life, but having that as a constant really really helps. We experience a lot of things together. We have a really strong relationship, and like and that was really important for me to have. I think having someone to
Yeah.
experience those things with, and like and be so close in age, I really am grateful for that, because I think like had my brother been like very much older than me, it's like you don't really grow up together.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. That
But
was
you did
always something.
experience life together
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Did you feel like there was ever a sense of resentment or like anger towards your parents for like not, I wouldn't say because like you say like they loved you so much, but Like, I know you get sometimes when you're like, "Yeah, I just want to see my family and
Mm.
whatnot." Like, did you ever
Yeah,
feel?
for me, it was more the older you get, the realization starts to hit you that the reason that they are apart is because of you, is not because of you, it's because they want to give the best for you.
Mm,
So I never felt resentment towards them ever, but it you start to feel the guilt of like, oh flip, it's because of us that they need
yeah.
to do this. And like we went to a really good school, and a part of that was like they worked really hard and did all that they could do
Mm,
to send us to that school. So like in school we did the best we could in academically, we did the best we could on the sports field, we gave all that we could. And that was that biggest challenge for me, was that guilt. You feel like, oh flip,
mm,
it's me, it's like because of us that they're apart. And
yeah.
that's not the truth, and they'll never
Yeah.
allow me to ever say that, but that is what you
Mm,
feel as a kid. You're like,
yeah.
oh flip, like
I mean, our parents sacrifice
they
everything.
sacrificed so much for us.
Yeah.
And so I remember one Christmas, we were uh, we were kids at the time, but we were in South Africa. And I remember because my mom couldn't come down for that Christmas. And I remember just like, it's Christmas Day. And, like there's presents and there's like joy and stuff. And I remember being so sad. And like, remember crying and being,
Mm,
just imagining my mom. And she's got amazing friends and family in the UK. But like as a kid, you just think like, oh, my mom is alone on Christmas. Like it's my fault, and
yeah.
you just feel sad. And that's definitely not the truth, but it's what you feel as,
Mm.
as a kid.
Um, Correct me if I'm wrong. Did your mom come to the island tour?
Yeah, yeah.
I rem-
That is
I
insane.
I
Yeah,
think my heart dropped when I first see your mom after a
yeah,
while, like,
yeah,
and I remember how happy you were to
yeah,
see her, and I'm pretty sure like half the rugby team almost wanted to cry.
yeah,
But it was such a sense of joy because everyone knew your
yeah,
predicaments and whatnot. Um, and having those moments, like you said, like not having a parent
mm,
at your rugby or whatever. Um, but are those moments I take it that you hold on to dear at the
yeah.
moment?
No, so it was insane. Like we were in
Mm,
Ireland, and like I remember someone said like come to the reception or
mm,
something like that, and then I go down to the reception, and she had come from the UK, and it was like a short trip,
yeah.
but she came there. It was special.
Mm. Um, was there any like type of, I wouldn't say coping mechanism of where you would go if you did feel kind of alone? Um, More in a sense of like you couldn't speak to your brother, you couldn't speak to Uncle Jay, you couldn't speak to anyone. Did you ever have a coping mechanism?
Like I would say, we'll get onto a little bit later on, but I would say I really found those coping
Mm,
mechanisms later on in my journey, and we'll speak a little bit about that. But like I think in my young journey, it was always just like you bottle everything.
yeah,
Like I'm okay, like even if you're not feeling okay, like now it's like I'll be fine.
yeah.
Don't overreact. It's like
Mm,
everything is fine. Like, and you develop this fix it mentality. And that's what I've got. It's like if something is not right, it's like no, I'll fix it. Like this is how I'm gonna
mm,
make this thing right. And sometimes you can't make those things right, and it's not good to have that, because some things you really can't and shouldn't
mm,
handle alone. And
yeah,
like I said, it was really good to have amazing friends as well
yeah.
throughout school. People who are like so selfless, and you never like for a moment really feel alone in that sense,
Mm,
because you got friends that are so
yeah,
um giving, and
mm,
so they it was like another family that you have. So
for sure.
no, it's awesome.
And did you, so like, what role did self-reliance play in your development, and how did you think it shaped who you are today?
I think a lot of like stepping into leadership, like in school, like a lot of the rugby teams, a lot of the um cricket teams, and leadership and stuff was something that you sort of it's become something that you do because you're able to um be mature about things, and you're able to problem solve, and you're able to be serious when it's time to be
Yeah,
serious. And like
I remember on the rugby field, Dumi would be laughing, and then next thing, let's go.
Yeah. So I think that really helped me. Is like you really, really do learn how to lead yourself, and because of
Mm,
that, you learn to lead other people as well. So I feel like yeah, there were some negatives that come with, like, that self-reliance, and I'm always wanting to fix it and do things by yourself. But I really do believe, like, my brother and I, we, you know, he, I followed in everything that he did, so like people always laugh, like I was head boy and he was deputy. It's like, but like I only ever did those things because he did it first. When we played cricket, like I didn't play cricket in England, but when I came to South Africa, my brother was already playing and he was spin bowler and all of these things. And then when I started playing, I just did the same. I copied him. Played rugby, he played hooker. Then I was like, I'm gonna play hooker, and I just followed
Copy
him.
paste.
I just copy pasted.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think that self-reliance gives you so many leadership capabilities, and that's where I really saw it come to the forefront, because you can be really serious. You can really seriously be able to think about things and problem solve things, and be mature about things.
And with, because I know with family and whatnot, like, Sunday is normally like the family day thing. Like, what were your like adventures?
I think there used to be either SmackDown or Raw. My brother and I would watch. We grew up watching, watching WWE a lot, but we don't really have too many of those like family traditions, so to speak, because we're so far apart, like we're so apart most of the time. So sometimes we get together for Christmas and we have a really nice family get together and stuff, but we don't really have too many traditions. Like my brother and I, we just play sports on the weekends, and then hang out with mates, or do whatever,
Or FIFA.
Or FIFA, exactly. And one thing that I really found awesome, like in the midst of COVID, COVID sucked for everyone, but something that we did as a family was like we would do Zoom calls and then play like quiz games and like different games and stuff. And
what was that called? Party chat?
Yeah, house party. House party. No, my parents, that's too much technology for them. But Zoom, I think it was fine. So like
what's that other thing called? Not Zoom. Skype.
Skype.
They'll remember that maybe.
Yeah. No.
And did you have like any type of support systems or mentors who guided you through? I know you said Uncle Jay was one, but did you have, growing up, I take it you had more and more?
Yes. Yeah. No, I had so many awesome family members that were always ready to step in. And one like notable mention that I've got to think about is my you've got like people that are your friends, but they're like your brothers.
Yeah.
And they're like they for all intents and purposes, they are your brother. And my dad has one of those, and his name is Uncle Robert. And he's not related to my dad at all, but he's our uncle,
I always see that meme where like, exactly. Dad, who's this guy?
Yeah, the law. Law.
This is my brother.
This is my brother, actually.
But we're not related.
Exactly. The flashbacks hit. They don't know the law. And he was someone that was so amazing. Like for us, he would always check on us, make sure that we had everything that we needed. He was our dad when our dad was far away.
Yeah.
And I remember when in school, when it was that night for prefect stuff, my parents weren't there at the time. And I was like, oh, flip, gonna be awkward if I go up there. Like there's no one there. So it was so amazing. They were like, oh, when is this happening? Like I want to be there. And they came, and when I got all the stuff, they put the blazer on me and they were there with me. So that was that having that sort of support is so amazing. And that's why family just reaches so far beyond what's in your blood. It's really about that decision that people make to say, hey, like I'm gonna treat you like your family.
I mean, like, I think more for me, it's just showing up. Like,
so true.
Can't tell you, as a child, just showing up is such a big role. Like, even if it's not per se mom and dad and whatnot, if it's someone that and you can tell that they really care about you and whatnot, and they show up, like, I'm pretty sure it's like almost like a dopamine.
It is, yeah.
It's like huge. That, and you smile. And
it's huge. It's so huge.
Did you how do you navigate through life decisions? Like, and did it affect like your career choices or anything like that? With having no one there basically to tell you, I think you should do accounting.
Yeah, I mean, we joked about this. I said he can't ask me any maths questions, or I'll beat him up. So, yeah, no, like like I say, when I got older, it was around about grade 10 when I want to speak about one of these figures in my life who really had an impact. I was about to leave. We just had cricket practice, and I was about to leave. And then this guy, one of the coaches for the other teams, was umpiring. He's like, "No, please stay. I need someone to score." And I'm like, "Flip, I need to go home. I'm hungry."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "No, no, stick around. Please score for me, and then I'll drop you off at home, and I'll get you a McDonald's meal as well." So I'm like, oh, score a cricket game now. So sat there, scored, and then afterwards he gave me a lift home and got me a large Big Mac meal, and that's when someone
you kept
upsizes
your
you to a
word.
large, you know. So yeah, I later found out that he would be my cricket coach as well, my rugby coach, and I started coaching my brother as well. And he was someone that loved us, and he would show up for things. And he actually invited us to something called youth, which we didn't even know what it was at the time. And
I remember you first told me, I was like, youth. I was like,
like, what's youth? You know? And he's
Yeah.
like, no, there's gonna be food there. I'll give you a lift there, the lift back. So you're like, okay, whatever, let's try it out. And what we would come to find out was what it was a program that the church was running, and it was all about, hey, can we introduce young people to Jesus is?
Yeah.
And he was someone for me in my life that had a massive impact, and that's when in around about grade 9 and 10, that he led my brother and I and to a relationship with God, and that's the probably single greatest thing that's ever happened to the both of us. And so like when we say, do you have mentors and how did you start to process and make decisions, from that moment it became a little bit different for me, because it's like there was actually purpose,
Yeah.
and there was actually something greater and bigger than myself and I could do. We started serving in the church, and realized that, hey, God had gifted us in certain ways to be able to do things and to be able to lead people and to love and serve people. And so my shift and my focus began to change as well, and the filter through which I made decisions began to change as well, because it wasn't just like, what do I want to do and let me just do it. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, what's actually God's plan for me?
What's my purpose?
What's my purpose? And that started to change, and it had such an impact in every aspect of my life. And yeah, like I said, having those people in my life to help me to make decisions, people that like I knew cared about me, and you know, and they showed that they cared about me, because it's so easy to say like, oh no, like I love you, bro, like, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm there, but like having people who show up, you know, not just they'll give you a lift when you don't have, they'll put clothes on your back if you don't have, and feed you if you don't have food, and it's showing it through action.
Yeah.
That is like, flip, no, like this person really cares, and so you listen to what they have to say, and you listen to those voices. So I think having those people around, type of people around you, really helps you to make the right decisions.
I imagine that now that you had this person in your life that could give you support and also give you kind of like almost meaning to everything you do. In a sense of, you know, if you had a problem, you just, you know, picked up this book that you maybe heard about and just opened one page and you just started reading, and you like, that's, for me, that's how I see it nowadays. Is literally I'm an on and off type of person with God and whatnot, and it's because I was Catholic and whatnot, and I was always sent to church and whatnot, and I think you almost get driven away when you get sent to church, like from a young age.
Sent.
Yeah. I say the word sent because
That's what it was.
because
True.
literally after school you got sent to church, and you just get taught like this person about how great he is and whatnot. And as a child, you're like, can I go home to game or like eat or whatever? And then after realizing, after what I went through and whatnot, and it gave me a little bit more time to actually speak to him and whatnot, and just referring back to the Bible, like whenever I've got a problem, did you not, like, you can literally just search what you're going through and it will be there. And it's crazy to me because
insane.
like that's a book that was written many yonder years, but and it refers back to what I'm going through right now. Like,
No, it's so true. And like for example, like in our life, we were always in, like when we were growing up in Zim, the cousins that we stayed in, their father was my uncle was a pastor,
mm,
you know, and so we'd gone to church, and you know, you go to church because everyone's going to church on a
yeah,
Sunday. And when we moved to South Africa, we never went to church at all. And then when we started going.
mm,
To amazing shout out to Revive Church. It was called View Church Sunnydale at the time, but
yeah,
the shift began when I learned that hey, this isn't about religion, or it's not about doing things and you're forced, you know, you're forced to do things this way. It's about the fact that Jesus actually wants a relationship with you, and that was a
mm,
shift for me. I was like, what? It's like, oh,
mm,
it's not about like doing all of these rules. It's like, no, God wants to know you, you know,
yeah,
and that changed things for me. So it's not like I have to read this book so that He's gonna love me. It's no,
yeah,
like He's speaking to me. You know, I want to
yeah,
hear what he has to say, and
mm,
He wants to hear what I have to say, and I can pray to Him. And that was the shift for me. It's a relationship, and we talk about the paradigm with which you make decisions. It's like when you've got the God of the universe, you know, at your disposal, so to speak. Like, why would you not want to consult Him and like, yeah,
yeah.
what do I need to do? You know,
Rather than just with your own thoughts, and you're
yeah,
like,
let's figure this out. Exactly.
especially with your maths. I mean,
Exactly.
um, what is like some of the best advice you could give someone that would be going through what you're going through? I would imagine, um, I would say, I think you had, I wouldn't say you had it the best way in your way, but I would say you had a pretty good way of growing up with it. But if someone wasn't going through the best, what would be the best advice?
Yeah, I'll offer a few things of advice. The first one is to be a good friend.
Mm,
And the reason why I say that is because it's so easy to like, you know, when you feel alone and you're in a foreign place, it's so easy to like be down on your laurels and be like, oh, I don't have friends or whatever. But if you become a good friend, and that means like not you know, being nice to certain people because
yeah.
they are more popular or whatever. If you just be nice to people and you genuinely be a good person towards them,
Mm,
people become attracted to you, and you don't have that sense of feeling alone. And so my school experience was amazing.
yeah.
I had amazing friends, very different people, you know, very different people, you
Yeah.
know, and different from me, different from each other.
Yeah.
And I just found that when you can be a good friend to someone, if you
Mm,
practice the art of being a good friend to someone, you'll find that you will be surrounded with
mm,
people that really love you and really want to be around you. You know,
mm,
you never have to question, is this person here because I'm giving them something? It's like, no, these people actually just want to be there with you and spend time with you. And that really was something growing up that
mm,
changed my experience. I had
yeah.
such amazing friends growing up. The second thing I would say, and this is always advice, and so it's like never like you have to do this. It's
Yeah.
always this is the things that helped and helped
Mm,
me navigate and get through this sort of thing. Having a relationship with God is so important. And the reason why I say that, and the reason why I offer that is because there's going to be times where there's certain people that can't be there for whatever reason. And a lot of people experience different things. You might not have a parent there because of a loss. You know, they lost their life, and
yeah.
it's like nothing that you can control. And you know, like I say, your parents can be very far away from you. Your friends can be very far away
Mm.
from you.
But
And
there's situations where you are by
where
yourself.
you are by yourself, and it's
Yeah.
like, what do you do then? Because you are, all intents and purposes, you are
Yeah.
alone. But what I came to realize is that when you have God, you're never alone.
Mm,
Reading the Word of God and finding out that uh, through the darkness, through the good times, on the mountain, in the valley, that
mm,
God is always there with you. It's like you can take on anything in life. You can be anywhere because you know that you've got the backing of God.
mm,
And I love this. If I'm allowed to share, one of the things that stands out to me, end of Romans 8, Paul says, you know, he goes on to say like, there's certain things that can never separate you from the love of God. And he goes
mm,
like, you know, no angels, no demons, no life, no death, no any of these things. And he says, in nothing in all creation could ever separate you from the love of God. And
mm,
for me, that is the number one bit of advice that I could give. It's like a relationship with God is so important, because regardless of if people shun you and kick you out and push you to the curb, or because you have loss in your life and
mm,
you've lost family members and lost friends, or on the other side of the world, away from people, you never have to be alone.
Yeah.
You will never be alone, because God is always with you, no matter where you go. And so that would be my two pieces of advice: be a great person, be a great friend, because
Be
you'll
a decent O.
be a decent O, and to give a relationship with God a try if you've never.
Yeah. I mean, if you are a person that has been brought up with God and you feel like you're a bit separated, I advise you to just have your own type of relationship with God. Not to just go to church and whatnot, and because I can understand that it can be a bit scary and whatnot, because everyone has a different view of God or view of how everything should be done. So, like with you saying, just try a relationship with Him. I bet you'll find something that you're looking for. With all of you saying that you'll never be alone, what does "you're not alone" mean to you?
Yeah, for me, it means exactly that. And throughout my life, I saw, I never saw the thread of things. Life felt disconnected and disjointed. We moved around a lot, and things always changed and shifted, and things that I didn't like happened, and all of that sort of thing. And later on in life, I found out that, hey, through all of those experiences, there was a thread in all of that.
Yeah.
God was there, was leading and guiding. And so when I think of you, it's exactly that God is with me wherever I go, and nothing will ever separate me from His love. And so I've experienced that, and I've experienced a love from people, amazing friends, amazing family, and just knowing that no matter where I am on this side of the world or that side of the world, there are people that think of me and care about me. And whenever the day comes that the people aren't there anymore, I know that God is always with me, and I'm going to be with Him for eternity as well.
I love what you just said there, because at the same time it gives me reassurance that when I do die, and I already have, but now come back. What do you call it? I would say that I would love to know that at the end of the day that He would be there, because I mean it's a reassurance thing, because at the same time, I mean, if all the humans in the world knew where we were all ending up, I'm pretty sure everyone would live happily. But at the same time, that's what You're Not Alone's for, to teach people that whatever you go through in life, there is someone there for you. And like you said with your friends, when you fall, they're there to catch you.
Exactly.
Especially good friends. Whenever you're falling down to you from whatever height, they're there to catch you. And especially God is even there, even under them, under your friends, even, just for extra backup. Like, and I really do thank you for coming on this podcast.
It's been
I've learned a lot as well, knowing you for all these years and not knowing as much. And thank you very much for being on.
I want to say thank you as well for doing this. And you really don't know the power of story, and you just creating this platform and doing this is helping so many people. I want to encourage you to keep on going, because you don't know all the stories. You can see like the views and see some comments, but like these things really do impact people. So like, good on you for going. Keep on going, because this is impacting.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's slowly going, but like any steady boat, we build it slowly and we keep going. But thank you, Dumi, for being on.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, guys, for joining the podcast, and make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll check you next time. Peace.